Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here or on our channel. It's in the description below. Reach out to me directly, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. This is the FP Journe Centigraphe Souverain Tokyo Boutique. It is a 2016 model year limited edition of 10 pieces in grade 5 titanium and rose gold. Back in 2005, FP Journe celebrated the first anniversary of his first factory-owned boutique, the Tokyo store, with a titanium and rose gold Centigraphe Souverain. Since then, the Tokyo Boutique Anniversary Series has become a collectible theme within FP Journe collecting, and all of them feature this characteristic combination of red gold and grade 5 titanium. Now, this watch is a 40mm Centigraphe Souverain in titanium, and you can see in profile, it remains fairly svelte, 10.5mm thick, 48mm lug-to-lug with a 20mm spacing between the lugs. Throw the watch on my 16cm circumference wrist. You can see it slides easily underneath the cuff. It's not terribly broad across the wrist. There's your down the barrel shot, and there's your over the top shot. I could recommend it for a wrist as small as potentially 13.5 centimeters in circumference. And a big part of that is due to the shape of the lugs, not just the span. You can see how tightly they turn downward. They work well on smaller wrists. Let's take a look at the hardware and the software. We have a burgundy colored alligator leather strap, medium rectangular scale, semi-gloss. You can see a monotone stitch. You can also see that in profile it has a broad folded profile, and then an uncommon feature on FP Journe watches, a full deployant clasp, as in general, even on flagship watches, FP Journe will equip a pin buckle. The use of a red gold deployant clasp not only enriches the package, but it protects you from dropping while donning or removing the watch. On the underside, small round scale alligator. I always like to say gator on both sides is more expensive, but it leads to a longer lasting strap, and that's why that's here. Pull tab spring bars underneath, those are there so you can remove the strap without a tool, and you can see this is a brand new Journe factory strap. The spring bars are also curved so that the lugs can be drilled close to the case and the strap can still move without impediment. Grade 5 titanium is great stuff because it is lighter than steel, but it's also more scratch resistant than standard 316, so it's the best of both worlds. Everything here is of high polish. There's the case back and the bezel overlapping, forming double lips that define the mid case, with Portuguese and Patek Philippe Calatrava style integrated lugs that do turn tightly downward. There's the characteristic Journe double dimple knurled crown, and then there's a rocker that actuates the chronograph, actually start, stop, and reset, so it looks like a mono pusher, but it operates like a conventional chronograph, so you can stop it and restart it. That's one of the 2 patents issued for this watch. Talking about the dial, I'll do my best to get some better light on this watcher. The dial is made of white gold, but it's been covered with ruthenium. So that gives it that dark gray, almost anthracite aesthetic. It has gilt-style rose gold printing, and you can see that there is a satin-finished bezel around these individual registers. Normally, these FP Journe dial bezels that surround registers, hours, minutes, and seconds, these bezels are always black polished. Here, it's a vertical satin finish to set this apart from the norm. You have red gold hands for the hours and the minutes, and then instead of the standard black polished silvered screws on the dial side, here we have individual rose gold bolts fixing this satin finished bezel to the dial. You can see that the individual registers have changed too compared to a standard Centigraphe. These are the Centigraphe Sport registers. They are smoked sapphire, and they do away with the tachymeter scales. In general, the tachymeters on these were impractical, so it's nice to open up and allow these dials to breathe while also giving an insight into the mechanism below. You have the 1/100th of a second foudroyant. It makes 1 second circuits, and it resolves down to 1/100th of a second, hence the name Centigraphe. You have a 20-second register, and then you have a 10-minute register, and those are the 3. You can see there's a second escapement underneath the foudroyant that operates at 360,000 vibrations per hour, so effectively 100 beats per second. Now, the way this works is that it's driven by the caliber 1506, which, as with a standard Centigraphe, is in rose gold. So the rose gold here, in this limited edition of 10, imparts most of the weight to the case. Being as it is 18 karat and fairly large, it's like holding a large gold dollar or medallion in your hand. So this is a titanium watch, but it is not a lightweight watch. There's a barrel at the center, and the second patented element in this watch is that the chronograph runs off the arbor of the barrel, basically its axle, and the time is driven off the toothed edge of the barrel. That allows the chronograph to operate without any penalty to the amplitude of the balance. Most chronographs will lose between 30 and 40 degrees of amplitude when you start the chronograph. This one will lose power reserve. Power reserve goes from 80 without the chronograph to 24 with it running. But remember, the largest register on the dial is 10 minutes, so you don't need to leave it running. It's adjusted and then free sprung using variable inertia bolts on the rim of the balance. So the variable inertia bolts perform all of the regulation, and then they resist shock and concussion-induced timing deviation. That's the advantage of the free sprung architecture. It beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, pivots on 50 joules, and all of this is 30 meters water resistant, a 10-piece limited edition, and one of FP Journe's most celebrated series. This is a blue chip collectible in titanium and gold. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.